Hi, I'm Coach Corey Wayne, and this is my video coaching newsletter. And the topic of today's video coaching newsletter is going to be how to become more confident and sure of yourself than you've ever been in your entire life. How to become more peaceful, more relaxed, more certain. You'll stand better. You'll be more confident. And what I want to talk about is something that I started doing back in, I think it was about 2004. And I'm going to share with you the greatest healing modality that I've ever found in my entire life. This is something that's done more for me than life coaches that I've paid over $100,000 to in a year, the best coaches, the best trainers in the world. Nothing has changed my life like Network Chiropractic Care. And the reason being is you think, what the hell would chiropractic care have to do with helping me be more successful in my life, in my business, when I'm trading in the stock market? How can it help my health? How can it make me actually feel more confident? Because it sounds kind of ridiculous when you think about it. But basically, how it works is you think of your spinal cord kind of like a chain. And basically what happens in our lives, like when we're little kids, is emotional traumas will happen. Or maybe an accident. We fell out of a tree or we had a car accident or something like that. And so what happens is because of an emotional stress overloads the nervous system, your body can't handle it. What happens is your vertebrae will subluxate, they'll twist. And what that does, it pinches the nerves because, out of the base of your neck, your spinal cord goes down in between. It's kind of like, it's like the consistency of like cooked broccoli, basically. I had a friend of mine that was a quadriplegic, and that's what he shared the story of how he was in a car accident, and he's in a wheelchair, his hands are all kind of crumpled up like this. And he explained all this stuff to me and how it works. And so basically what happens is you've got nerve endings that come out of all these different vertebrae all down throughout your body, and they connect to your different organs, the heart, the pancreas, the liver. And so as we age and we grow up in life and certain traumas happen or emotional things that happen to us and we just don't know how to deal with them, they're overwhelming to us, the spinal cord to protect us will subluxate, twist, pinch off the nerves, and under normal circumstances something would pass, you'd figure something out or you'd figure out a solution to something, that stressor or that trauma would go away, and then you wouldn't have it anymore. But what happens in our lives is the same trauma. Like if you had a dysfunctional family and you grew up feeling that, having a low self-esteem, that will actually show up in your spinal patterns in your spinal cord. And so what happens is as we have these traumas or accidents in our lives, as we're growing up or even when we're adults, what happens is all the muscle tissue around this area where the subluxation is, it armors, what Dr. Donald Epstein calls armoring, and the muscles become like rock hard, and you literally become locked in to a certain physiology. If you've ever seen a lot of old people, they're all hunched over, and a lot of them you'll notice are kind of hunched over, kind of like right where your nipples are, and this area, like where your breastbone. This has everything to do with your ability to access the heart and have good quality relationships, where your rib cage comes together, and that kind of like that V pattern. That is your emotional center, and your navel, your belly button, is your willpower center. And basically what's interesting about this healing discipline is that this armoring, and can you imagine if you walked around all day? I mean, some of those people you see them inching along and are all kind of hunched over, and they kind of look up, and they're all messed up and jacked up, and they're like locked. I mean, can you imagine? I mean, you can stand in a room and stand right now. Like, do this. If you're sitting in a chair, get up and stand up straight, and then bend over and put yourself in like a depressed state, like a depressed person would be. And you can feel those emotions. Now imagine that you're locked into that. Your physiology literally, just to stand up straight, you can't even do it anymore because so much trauma has happened that instead of your spine being straight, it's kind of arched. And you're just kind of hunched over. And so what happens is not only does it limit your expression, your ability to feel emotions, but it also limits your ability to access different parts of your personality. What's interesting is like each vertebrae has a connection to a different part of your personality. And what network chiropractic doctors do is they can just look at your spinal cord as you're laying down when they're in training you and they're doing adjustments to you, and they can see where the tension is. And so what they do is just by making these light contacts, or like touching your neck, it kind of doesn't feel like anything. They're not like a traditional chiropractor where they crack your bones. Network chiropractic means they network all these different chiropractic techniques into one. And so basically what Dr. Donald Epstein has discovered that is so revolutionary is that you go to a regular chiropractor, they crack your bones, and a few days later or a week or two later, because the tension in your muscle system, your nervous system hasn't been released, it just pops right back into the same old place. And that's what Dr. Epstein found out when he was starting this, trying to figure this stuff out 30-something years ago. And so what he realized was that if he could get the body to drop the tension in the nervous system, in other words, get the muscles to go from just being all tense to loosening up, then what would happen is the brain would be able to start talking to these parts of the body that it was disconnected from. And what's really fascinating about this is that people have, I'll give you an example, like one of my old girlfriends, she had an ovary removed when she was 19, her mother had a hysterectomy, her sister had a hysterectomy, her father died of prostate cancer, one of her brothers had something wrong with his prostate, and so if you knew the family like I did, one of the things that they struggle with is willpower. They're the type of people that say, I'm going to do this, this, and this, or I'm going to start an exercise program, or I'm going to start my own business, and they never do it. And what's interesting is they're disconnected. Their spine is subluxated down there in their navel area. And so what this does is it causes them to lose access to the willpower part of their personality. And so when they need to do something, they want to do it, but it doesn't feel safe in their physiology. So they're never able to make changes in their life or follow through on the commitments that they say they're going to. And so wherever you're disconnected from, that's also where dis-ease will show up later in life. And it's interesting, her whole family, they all have the same health problems, all in the same area of their body. I had a guy that I was in business partnership years ago, and this guy had a quintuple bypass, he had 13 angioplasties, and he was hunched over right up here, like in the heart area. And his relationships with his ex-wives and his daughters was fucking atrocious. And even his ex-business partners, he had pretty much fucked all of them over. He, when we were talking, it should have been a red flag at the time. He said, that guy would never really like to hear from me. And so what's interesting is that, like I said, back to the network doctors, is they do these light contacts on you. They get your spine to drop the tension, and your body knows what to do. The brain goes, oh, wait, there's something wrong here. And so if it's disconnected from the pancreas or the liver because of the subluxation and the nerves being pinched, it can't properly regulate those organs, send blood flow, oxygen, nutrients to that part of the body. And eventually, over time, it's, if you know anything about some of the topics I talked about in health before, that's where the disease shows up, or cancer, or those things shows up in that part of the body. And so, it's very fascinating. And so overall, like when I'm talking to clients and they can afford it, and they go and they have a network chiropractor, I'm going to put the website on this webpage, is that you go there and what happens is you just feel more peaceful, you feel more relaxed, you just feel like all is well, because you don't have this tension, you're not stuck in a fight or flight response all the times. And so like your emotions or your relationships, the quality of them improves dramatically, because just little shit that used to just send you into orbit, it doesn't bother you anymore. And like I've talked about before, is like when you're making decisions in life, you make really good decisions when you're in a peaceful and relaxed state. When you're stressed, or you're worried about money, or you're unsure of yourself. Like one of my clients lost a shitload of money in the stock market these past few weeks because of the volatility, because he was getting emotionally invested and wound up in the market. And so by feeling peaceful and relaxed, you just walk differently. You walk confident. Like I talk about in my book, it's almost like you got a string tied right here to your chest, to the ceiling, and so it's kind of like you're suspended. And when you walk, everybody notices you. You feel more peaceful. You feel more certain. When you talk to people, you're very present with them. You look them right in the eye, and you stand shoulder to shoulder with them. If you notice, like most human beings, when they're talking conversations, they'll usually be twisted sideways, or they'll they won't be facing the person. And it's interesting for a lot of people that are disconnected and have a lot of issues in their nervous system because they haven't done network care before. They don't feel comfortable like when they're talking to somebody like me because they just feel insecure. They have to kind of turn to kind of protect their core because they feel awkward. They feel insecure about themselves. So, and one of the things that's really helpful is like when I'm teaching somebody, if they have a trauma in their body or they just really don't feel safe about in their nervous system to make changes in their life, it makes it very difficult for them to move forward and apply the things that I've talked about. So if you're having problems in your life moving forward or making changes, or it's like you make a commitment to start an exercise program and then for whatever reason you just seem to never follow through, I would say to look into Network Chiropractic Care. They've got doctors all over the world, and it's absolutely a miracle what it can do for you. And so if you find these messages of value, there's a PayPal donate button along the Wibia toolbar at the bottom of your screen. Anytime that I offer a nugget of knowledge or something that helps you or changes your life, throw me $1 or $5 or $20 to show your appreciation. At the very least, you can use the Facebook social sharing buttons or the Twitter share buttons on the Wibia bar as well to share this page with your friends or family. If you got a question that you would like to ask me or potentially have me answer in one of these future video sessions, you can put it right in the Facebook comments below, or you can send me an email, and I'll talk to you soon.